they'd like to ask the panel, I'll let them do that. Can each of you tell me, tell the panel, tell us about a gut-wrenching case or a really heartwarming case that you've had that has stuck with you?
Well, we're family lawyers. We deal with gut-wrenching cases every day, and that's not an exaggeration. I have one going right now. It fits in with what Michelle was talking about. It's a lesbian couple. One of them is the biological parent through assisted reproduction, and the other parent adopted. And then the second lady became the biological parent through assisted reproduction of the second child, and the first lady has adopted that one, and we are now separating, and we're trying to figure out what to do. We've got a temporary hearing, and the judge is ruling, and I've already spent about 3 hours trying to draft it into formal language. You know, that is a, I have only had one case, and I guess I've been doing this family law for a lot longer than any sane person would, but it only had one case involving a suicide, and I feel lucky about that, but that was a long time.
Michelle, I know you already told us about that gut-wrenching
Well,
case.
I mean, that wasn't my case, but.
Tell us about one of yours.
Well, the one of mine that I think was the most gut-wrenching was the MKSB case, because I became very close to my client, and she is a friend of mine to this day. But in that case, we won standing from the appellate court. We fought hard to get there. But after we won standing, we started talking about the parental presumption and figured out pretty quickly that there wasn't any way we could overcome it. 3 years had passed just while we were pending in the appellate process. And, you know, if I ever got the opportunity to tell the appellate justices what I thought about that process was too long. Because over the 3 years that she was absent from that child's life, that child went from age 3 to age 6. We knew nothing about her. We weren't given temporary access to her. Couldn't even find out her softball schedule to go to her little t-ball games. And so when we got to the point of having to overcome the parental presumption, we had no evidence and no reason to think that the child had been mistreated, abused, or in any way affected negatively by the absence, except by the absence of my client. But the parent was, by all intents and purposes, fit under the section of the code. And so my client made the difficult decision to dismiss her case. And that was a very hard day for all of us.
David, you have any heartwarming ones?
Hopefully his are happier.
Yeah, I mean, all the cases I have that involve same-sex families are all, they're, believe it or not, it's easy stuff for me. And it's like I've got I can tell you war stories about lots of cases, but not one of these type of cases. Lots of adoption. I've got 4 cases that are, being contested right now that are, all my contests are, birth parents who are trying to revoke, or it's kids who are in Child Protective Services custody and the foster parents want to adopt, and it appears just blatantly obvious that that's what should happen, but Child Protective Services has got some crazy, plan about, returning a child somewhere else, or doing something that just doesn't look to be in the best interest of a child. But I think all the work that I do in same sex is like that, like the other lawyers have said, it's happy stuff, and I think that, I've discovered that, and this is for couples who experience infertility or same-sex couples, having a child is not easy. So we cherish the things sometimes that are very difficult to achieve. And the couples that I work with, infertility couples and same-sex couples, I mean, they cherish the kid that they get. And the process is, it's good.
I'd like to open this up to a few questions from our audience. Does anyone have
there any good news on the horizon for LGBT families? Is there anything you know of that's happening that could be good?
Well, I guess we didn't smile about it. I think everything is happening positively. Most of it, everything is happening positively. In Minnesota, I think that they are going to have a Defense of Marriage Act come up. Possibility it's going to be voted down. The trend is toward recognizing so many things: gay and lesbian parenting, gay and lesbian marriages. That is definitely a trend. We've had now 7 of the states in which it is legal to get married. And so I think the trend is going in the positive direction. We're not, say we're not there yet, it's a gross understatement. We're not close to being there yet, but we're going in the right direction.
And I guess from my perspective, a lot of times I have clients who view what I tell them very negatively, but I would also say that unlike Keith's area over here, my area at least treats homosexual couples the same as heterosexual couples. My area doesn't distinguish between what is your sexual orientation in your access to the courthouse. Now, that may be good or that may be bad, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. If you're the biological parent, I mean, I represented a biological parent last year who had great issues with her former partner, and did not want that person a part of her life, and so it was kind of the opposite of the position I had taken before. But the good news is that if I were representing a heterosexual couple who were shacking up, so to speak, my advice is no different to them. You know, my advice is no different to a grandparent. I mean, it's actually one area of the law, at least in the access to the courthouse question, that is, you know, is not any different and does not discriminate. Now, certainly once you get to the courthouse, the question of what a particular judge might or might not find to be in the best interest of a child is still one that is very dependent on who you're in front of. You know, we're lucky to practice in Dallas where the viewpoints are very more modernized.
Have any of you ever had the opportunity to present one of these LGBT issues to Collin County or any other county?
Yeah, I
How
mean,
does that differ?
I was actually going to mention Tarrant County just because I know some of the judges' viewpoints specifically over there are very anti-LGBT viewpoints, but you know, Collin County, my experience has been they're a little more open. They're not quite to the right wing of Tarrant County, but yeah, I mean, you know, even in saying that, I mean, saying it globally by county is not even fair because, you know, there are judges in Dallas County that would be less likely to, you know, look at LGBT issues. There are judges in Tarrant County who are more likely to look at them. So, you know, the saying a good lawyer knows the law and a great lawyer knows the judge.
Well, I would like to thank you for coming.
A couple of things, and then we'll leave if you don't mind. One is, you mentioned the 2 counties in which there are a lot of same-gender adoptions, Dallas and Bear, which I agree with. I had a lady come in to see me a couple of years ago, and for a split, and they both had adopted a child, she and her partner, and so I said, well, where did the adoption take place? And she said, Kaufman County. And I said, now, what county did you go to court in for the adoption? She said, Kaufman County. I said, I need to see that. She brought it in, and it was in Kaufman County. So a judge there actually did an adoption there. One other thing, totally unrelated, but we mentioned what's happened since the first of the year. One of the things I forgot to mention, which is